Okay, so in my wedges, and this has evolved a lot over the years. I used to play 56 and a 52 degree wedge, 52 degree gap wedge, and then a 48 degree pitching wedge. But over the years, lofts have gotten stronger, and it's kind of required all of us to adjust our gaps a little bit. And I'd say last couple of years, I found myself using less and less of a 60 degree wedge. And so finally, I was just thinking, why do I even have it in my bag? I don't practice that much with it. I don't use it when I'm on the course. And I'm really, really happy with what I've decided to do. So I play a 40, my pitching wedge is 46 degrees. And then when I get into my actual wedges, I play a 50 degree VW 06. And 06 is just the type of grind. VW is the Vega Wedge. And the 50 degree club for me goes about 135 yards, and my pitching wedge goes about 145 to 150. So it's that 50 really fits the gap. But then when I go to my next wedge, this is a 54 degree wedge bent to 55. So what that does, if you can imagine, I've got X amount of bounce on this club. When I bend it a little bit weaker, it increases the bounce on the club. So that's good for somebody like me who has a lot of shaft lean at impact, especially with my wedges. So I chose specifically to bend from 54 to 55 to increase that bounce, and 55 degrees gives me the right gap for my sand wedge so that I can play, if I've got a 135 yard shot, I play my gap wedge. If I've got 115, maybe 120, I'll hit my sand wedge. And then the minimum I can hit this shot, really, since I don't play a 60, I'll play this club all the way from 125 yards max all the way down to something like, for a full shot, like a 3/4 shot, will feel like maybe 100 yards. After that, I'm getting into partial wedge swings. So the other great thing about this wedge, and the reason I don't have to play a 60, is that this particular grind has a lot of heel relief. So that just means that at the heel of the club, it's kind of shaved away. That allows me to open it up and not have the club really impacting the ground so forcefully. So I can play this club, again, a full shot, 125, 120, 100 yards, 75, all the way down to a pitch shot or a flop shot or a bunker shot around the green. So this is a really versatile grind and versatile wedge for me. Again, it's a one-piece forge, so this is one piece of steel. It's got a really soft but yet solid feeling. And I've been playing the Vega wedges for a couple years now, and I'm really, really happy with them. I do play the Shimada shaft in my wedges, same as my irons. It's just a really high-end, consistent shaft. Their tour wedge shaft is a little bit heavier than the shafts that I play in my irons, but that's okay. I've got the swing weights exactly where I want them. So my wedge swing weights are D4 and D5. My gap wedge is D4 and my sand wedge is D5. And again, those swing weights are so important to me because what I found is in my swing, as I'm coming into impact, if I've got a really heavy swing weight or a heavy head, the club will sometimes drop behind me, and that can cause the club to come in too shallow and from behind me, and then cause my hands to roll through impact. And so that just creates more face rotation, and it's really not very helpful. So these swing weights being a little heavier in the wedges is okay because my club head speed isn't so much as it is in, let's say, like a driver, and I can actually maintain the angle that I'd like coming into impact, or the swing plane that I'd like coming into impact. So these are great wedges. One thing I haven't mentioned so far is that I play cord grips or a half cord. I play cord grips in my wedges and half cord in pretty much everything else. I think, the grip weight is really important when you're having your builder build your clubs. Hopefully your builder knows that if you play a heavier grip, that's going to affect your swing weight. For me, it's always been beneficial to play a little bit heavier grip, a cord grip, because it can offset the head weight and bring my swing weights a little bit down. Because again, I don't like to play really heavy swing weights. So that's it for my wedges. Again, it's a 50 degree and 55 degree VW06. 06 is the grind, VW stands for Vega Wedge. I play the same length in my 50 and my 55, and the same lie angle, and the swing weights are just slightly different. I expect about 135 out of my gap wedge and 120 to 125 out of my sand wedge.